Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I'm going to continue on from the last video I did, which was doing some rocks cleanup issues. And this one is going to be changing some exception handling around. And I'm going to look at how does rocks handle virtual methods on classes, on interfaces. So to figure out just a couple things there. And then we'll actually make the change. But the reason I'm showing you some notes here is because I was going to actually follow up and start doing this, which is the template to make a Roslyn analyzer in Visual Studio. I don't like it. It just, you can even tell by the notes here, I don't like that. No, those are the things I don't like. So how do you actually make them from scratch? And so I looked at this and I basically took a bunch of notes. The thing that I had forgotten was, where did I put this? And so I thought I had to do this all over again, which would have really sucked. So I made some notes on how this all works, and I might have to change it because when I did this, for some reason, it was pulling in a beta version. So I'm going to probably just review this again to say, well, what does it do now? And of course, this might change in 2019. The reason I'm doing this is because I need to update the CSLA analyzers, and I want to just do this straight up with a new project and just pull all the code into that. You know, that type of thing. So, so just looking through this, and then the test project is pretty easy. And then extensibility project, I think it can be made here. Reference the analyzer project, and then I put in, my manifest description here, and I put some notes there. So I'm going to have to review that again just to make sure that it's good. But yeah, at least I found where I put the notes. All right, so let's go into rocks here, and let's pull this over. So we're doing the right thing, which is branch. Okay. I don't know why those are there. Oh, I kind of do. All right, so let's come here. Let's just say private static void handle virtual on class. So I'll have a public class virtualized, public virtual. We don't care what this is. I can't type. There we go. So I want to say here our rock is equal to rock.create of a virtualized. And then I'm going to say var chunk is equal to rock.make chunk.foo rock.verify. And what this should do should it work or should it not work? I say it should work. Doesn't. I am assuming so you have to, even if it's a virtual class, even if it's a virtual method on a class that is implemented, rock.handle foo returns handler. This is where I don't allow you to grab. This is also tied to a, there was something that I said I want to be able to do the this, like the thing that you're trying to call here. Because this is basically saying, well, you're calling a method that doesn't have any property, any parameters, any arguments. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going to start finding all these, which isn't what I want. But I can't, and that's the one it's going to call, essentially, I think. So I can't pass in this. What I want it to do is say, call the base method on the class. So, on the object. I don't know if I can even do that. So there's nothing I can. Yeah. The most I could do here is just say, yeah, you call me. Call me. And now we should see it work and a message on the command console window. And we do. So that works as I thought it would. Someday I should just take notes on this and go, okay, what are all the rules to... I mean, if you're given an interface, it's obvious. You have to implement everything. Well, the mock type has to have implementations for all those methods. And, then it's just a matter of whether you set up an expectation or not. With a class like this with a virtual method, I'm starting to go, that's not really what I want it to do. Because it may be perfectly valid that you just want to call it and not override it. So I'm actually thinking this is a bug. I won't fix that now because that's probably going to take way too long to fix. That you have a virtual method that isn't abstract, but isn't sealed either. It's got to be a method that you can override, but has an implementation. And in that case, it's okay if somebody calls it. But if somebody provides a handle for it, then, so I guess I would be shocked if this does what I think it could do, but it's not going to do this. Which is, okay, fine. It's not going to call the base one. Yeah, it doesn't do that. So I'm going to have to look into this a little bit more and determine, is this a bug or not? And not really a bug, but just if that's a bug. It just doesn't feel right. Like if there's a virtual method, you shouldn't be forced to put a handler on it if you just wanted to call the method. There's no reason to have that carry through. And yet, if you do want to, there should be nothing stopping you from doing that either. And then that ties also into another feature, which is trying to figure out how to get to this passed in, especially across asynchronous boundaries. I think there's now a clean way to do that. It's not like thread local storage, it's async local or something like that. So being able to reach up and say, I want to grab the this for this instance. Because you can't get that in that action over there. There's no way to pass that in. So you have to reach up into some kind of context and say, what is the this? And then the problem though is if you have this, that's just an object reference. So I don't think now you have to worry about, do I actually have the right to do that, to call the base one. So I guess in that case, you'd have to say why would you do that though? Why would you just go and call the base one? I guess if you're only saying, I want to make sure that they call it. So, I don't know. I guess I could look at MLQ and see, what do they do? And maybe I'm already following. This is, again, as I hinted in the last video, something that I don't remember how I did things and what was my rationale and reasoning behind doing it. In any event, so we're going to look up, that. So I think there was like a bunch of cases. Well, those are tests. So there's like 10, 15 that are in code that we need to change. And that they actually say, Now get not implemented method. This is kind of a strange one. Why would I say that? That's just a... Okay. So there's only 2 spots that it's called and then 1 in the test. Why is it in here? This is generating a method. The base method is public. If it isn't span-like, then you do that. If it is span-like, then we can't implement it. Our user specified a delegate to use to handle that method. The fun of reading your own code. You think the code that you've written is so clear. Then you come back to it and you're like, what? What did I do here? Why was this? Did this make sense? Did it not make sense? I don't think this makes sense. This is just saying there's no implementation for it all, I guess, and just saying that because if it is span-like, then there is no implementation for it at all. And, because in this one case, I think this is okay. I think this is just saying that there's no need for this at all. I don't actually like this. This will cause an error, but I kind of like it written like that. So in this case, I think throwing a not implemented exception makes sense because you're literally not implementing it. Okay. So this one is saying, I think I talked about this last time. If it couldn't even find a handler, it's throwing not. I don't think that's correct. I think it should do this. So yeah, I thought maybe I could collapse that and make that so it doesn't have that if-else there, but I don't think I can. Leave it as is for now. All right, find results list. Pull that down a little bit. And so this is saying if you could do that, else this is funny. Get action method with no arguments, but I'm passing in arguments. Why would I? What am I doing? Was it? That doesn't even make any sense. How would I? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I say, gotta get an action method with no arguments, but you're passing in argument names? I mean, the whole point of calling this, you'd think, is that you didn't actually have any arguments, right? Generate method with ref out or no parameters. Where did this come from? This one is really confusing me. Why would I do this? Generate method with ref out or no parameters. But if the method has parameters, because you're looking at the length, so how would you... Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But I don't want to change this right now because that doesn't feel right. Yeah, this is teaching me a lesson. This is not easy code to read at all. So someday I may just burn the house down on rocks and start over again, because, and that's hard because there's so many conditions that I know I had to deal with, and it wasn't clean. Yeah. So back to this. Well, I guess argument names? It just feels kind of hokey. I mean, though it matches argument name list, and that's a string, and that came from up above here that had the argument name list. So, could live with that, I guess. So we're going to, for each result. So this one, I think I could actually pull that here and just get rid of that. Because if you actually do something, that's where you'll pop out of the method, and this will just fall through into where you just didn't have any, anything handled. This is reference type, return value, and no arguments. Yeah. Something tells me at some point I just need to clean this up, because I think I kind of duct taped some of this all together to make it all work. What was argument? Okay, so these are argument. Right, these are the argument names because they go past into the thing that you're trying to say the handler. And this will be fun. No way is the nullability check in C#8 ever going to be able to find that one. Because it can't. It's in the code. I'd actually have to have it generate the code and then analyze it and tell it, well, what did you find? And then I got to go back and clean all these up. That'll be fun. What I really don't like about this, though, now I'm thinking about it, is I want the message to be good. But So I think in this, when I'm trying to pass in, okay, I think I'm going to undo my work and then restart again, because now I got a better handle for what's going on here. All right, let's actually, that can stay. We're going to discard changes. Okay. Back to EFI. Oh, come on. I know. Thank you. Okay, should have basically what we had before. Yeah, that we want to clean up. Okay, so the message I want, and this has actually brought all this up, is that a friend of mine was using MLQ and was telling him I couldn't find a match. The message was kind of hard to figure out, and as I explained in a previous video, I'm not trying to solve that problem here, but I do want to make sure that if I'm going to be changing this, see here it makes sense because it's saying no handlers are found for method with argument values. Okay, and this is being used to say, I guess, here is. Yeah, here's the method, here's its argument values, and I couldn't find it, and I couldn't find it maybe because the match wasn't correct. It wasn't actually a good match. Because you may have said I wanted to have an integer of 3, and you actually somebody passed it a 2. And it doesn't work. So that makes sense for this. But in this case, you're saying I didn't even find a match for the method at all. So I think here is where I want to say this. Because I just couldn't find for any, just this method itself, I couldn't find it. And so what I want to do is say, not use Notepad, Notepad++. What I want to do is say, what happens if I have a public int interface I foo, and then I have a void bar where I have an int a. What about the cases where I don't even set up an expectation at all for that, and I call it, what's the message look like? And then, so here's a case when no expectation, no handlers, and then case where handler a is equal to 2, called with 3. So it shouldn't match that. What are the messages going to look like? We do that. So, because I can, our make is equal to no. Right. This one we verify. Oh, I got to pass in 2. See, I like that. And I think this actually just changed because I made the change in the code, and it just so happened to be for the case that I just matched on. Get action method. Yeah, it's an action method. So that was, yeah, no expectation exception. No handlers are found for void. This is much better than seeing a non-implemented exception. So this is already making me feel good. Okay. So now what happens, though, if I come in here and I say chunk dot handle. No, not a chunk. It's got to be at the rock. That's the bar of a 3. Bar 2, yeah. Though that's a little misleading. That's saying that's the... Yeah, that's a little weird. That's a little confusing. No handles are found for bar 2. You know, what happens if I had set up this? Okay. Now I run it. Yeah, that's not... What I want to see is the value being passed in. Because that's what you're trying to do. And it can't... that's really misleading. Argument names is just going to be like a method name with override. So if it is an override, you're going to see override. Right. If this was a class, I know. So now what does it do? Yeah, this is slightly different because, I guess. Oh, yeah, it's virtual. I'll make it virtual. Yeah, for bar 2. So you don't see the override there. Yeah, there you do. No handlers are found for override. Void bar int a. And I believe that's actually coming from this one. Yep. So that would be really confusing. Override void, yeah, it's like, wait, what? Who? How? But with what I'm given here, with all I'm doing with the templating stuff, I don't really have any meaningful way, unless I start changing all of this, to say, yeah, so I'm not even liking the road I'm going down now either, which is what I really wanted to say is the method name and the arguments that you passed in. And I also want to see, so like here I want to see what is the actual method name? And what are the arguments that you just passed in? and do that as a, yeah, that'd be, whew. That would be tricky. That'd be a lot of refactoring, because I think what I need to do is here argument names. You're just getting like in there A, comma B, comma C, or something like that. What I would actually need to see put in there is like an interpolated string with the method name in front of it, and then in parentheses put an interpolated string that says here are the argument names. Each of those are in like holes that you fill, and then would actually put in the argument values there. So then you'd see, oh, that's what you tried to pass in. And here I would simply want the method name. So I've got more work to do. So what I'm going to do is stop for now and do another video.